Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. To our respected panels and our supervisor, my name is binti Muhd Rodhi.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And my name is Zulfiqar Haziq bin Zakaria.
And today we will be presenting on our research study, which title is The Determinants of Sustainable Waste Behavioural Intention Among Academics in UiTM Kedah. And this will be our outline for our presentation today. Next, I'll be presenting on the background of study. The waste management has been a major universal issue whereby it gets worse gradually and it has been worsened our environment. According to the World Bank Group, it stated that the waste generation has been hiking all over the world. And in the year of 2020, it was estimated about 2.24 billion tons of solid waste has been generated globally. And in the coming of 30 years, which is in 2050, it was expected that the world would generate waste about 3.88 billion. In addition, in South Asia region, it has produced about 334 million tons of waste annually, while the North American region produced about 289 million tons of waste annually. The improper waste management, including chemical or substances of waste, directly or indirectly contaminated the environment could lead to serious consequences that could affect animal, human, and also other living creatures. Therefore, it is crucial to have proper and also sustainable waste management in order to combat with these issues. Moving on, the problem statement that will obtain will be explained in details. The Malaysian government has been facing numerous challenges in sustaining waste management in our country due to its fast-growing cities and the population growth as well. According to Malaysian Investment Development Authority, which also known as MIDA, it was recorded that the Malaysian produced approximately 38,000 tons daily, which is equivalent to 13.88 million per year. The Japan International Cooperation Agency has said that a country should only generate about 30,000 tons of waste daily. So the Malaysia's waste generation is quite concerning and serious action should be taken by the involved authorities in order to ensure that our country's waste could be well managed and also better comprehensive method in waste management should be enhanced. There are several research questions that were obtained. Firstly, what is the level of sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah? Secondly, what is the relationship between attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioural control, situational factor, and environmental awareness with sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah? Now, thirdly, what is the main factor that affect the sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah? Next, I'll be presenting on the research objective. There are three objectives for this research study, which are to examine the level of sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. The second objective is to analyse the relationship between attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioural control, situational factor, and environmental awareness with sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. Now, the third objective is to determine the significant factor that affects on the sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. As shown in the figure right here, there are a total of 5 independent variables that were used in this study, which are attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioural control, situational factors, and environmental awareness. Meanwhile, the dependent variable is sustainable waste behavioural intention. In research design, cross-sectional study and hypothesis testing were used in order to determine the relationship between attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioural control, situational factors, and environmental awareness towards sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. For unit of analysis, it is targeted towards individual who is an academic in UiTM Kedah. Next, the sample size that were required is the academic in UiTM Kedah. Additionally, the sampling technique that were used are purposive and convenient sampling. According to Zakaria 2003, it is stated that the convenient sampling refers to gathering data from members of population who are conveniently available to do so. Meanwhile, according to Etiken et al. 2015, purposive sampling is a non-random technique that does not need to underlying theories or a set of numbers of participants. Furthermore, quantitative approach was used through this survey questionnaire. There are two methods of data collection that were carried out. First method of data collection is online survey using Google Form. The second method of data collection is by distributing physical survey form to the respondents. The questionnaire consists of 7 sections, which are Part A is demographic, Part B is dependent variable, and Part C, D, E, and F is independent variables. For data analysis, Pearson correlation were used to analyze the correlation between attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, situational factors, environmental awareness, and socio-demographic of the academics in UiTM Kedah. In addition, multiple regression analysis was used to determine the significance factor that affect sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah.
Next, we move to findings. Firstly, for the demographic of the respondent, there are 7 demographic profiles have taken to consider, which is gender, age, marital status, place of residence, year in academic field, academic position, and faculty that was represented through frequency and percentage at the table. According to Zakaria and Buji 2010, stated that the reliability coefficient that is less than 0.6 is considered, where 0.7 in range is acceptable and over 0.8 or nearer to 1 is categorized as good. As presented in the table, it illustrated the reliability data for each variable tested. The result by using Cromba alpha value for attitude was 0.961, subjective norm was 0.903, perceived behavioral control was 0.850. Situational factors was 0.700 and environmental awareness was 0.915. Meanwhile, the sustainable waste behavioral intention was 0.903. Thus, it can be concluded that all the variables measured in the study appear to be reliable. Next, goodness of measurement for normality. Normality can be assessed to some extent by obtaining the value of skewness and kurtosis stated by Hare 1998. The values for asymmetry and kurtosis between negative 2.5 and 2.5 are considered acceptable in order to prove normal univariate distribution according to George and Mallory 2010. As presented in the table, it indicates that attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, situational factors, and environmental awareness can be contended as normal because all of the skewness and kurtosis value in range of negative 2.5 and 2.5 that indicates the normal distribution of data. Next, for the major part of the findings in this research study, whereby for the first research objective, to examine the level of sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. According to Zakaria and Buji 2013, mean value 1 to 2.33 is considered as low, 2.34 until 3.66 is moderate, and 3.67 to 5 indicate high. The descriptive analysis was carried out in this study. Based on the result, it shows that most of the academic had a high level of sustainable waste behavioral intention, whereby the mean value was 4.68 and for the standard deviation was 1.95. Therefore, HA1 is supported. For the second research objective, to to analyze the relationship between attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioral control, situational factors, and environmental awareness with SWBI among academics in UiTM Kedah. According to Cohen, it stated that the strength of relationship can be measured whereby 0.10 to 0.29 is considered as low, 0.30 to 0.49 is considered as moderate, while 0.50 to 1 is considered as strong. Firstly, for attitude, based on the result, there is significant strong and positive relationship between attitude and sustainable waste behavioral intention, since R value equal to 0.606 and P value 0.001. HA2 is supported. Second factor, which subjective norm result shows that the R value is 0.018, whereby it indicates low and positive linear correlation between the variable. Thus, it can be assumed that there was low significant relationship between subjective norms with sustainable waste behavioral intention, since P equal to 0.039. So HA3 is supported. Next, for the third factor, perceived behavioral control, result that R value is 0.287, hence it interpret as low and positive relationship between perceived behavioral control and sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. Meanwhile, P value is 0.006, below than 0.05. Therefore, it can be assumed that there was significant relationship between perceived behavioral control and sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. Subsequently, the decision HA4 was supported. Subsequently, situational factors result shown that the R value was 0.413, whereby it indicates that there was correlation between situational factors with sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah, since R equal to 0.413 and P value equal to 0.01, which was less than 0.05. It can be described that HA5 is supported. Furthermore, the last factor, which is environmental awareness, depicted that R value is 0.663, P value was 0.001, and which indicates high relationship between environmental awareness and sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. Therefore, it can be assumed that there was significant relationship between environmental awareness and sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. For the third research objective, to determine the significant factor that affects on the sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. According to Cohen, 1983, multiple regression has been defined as natural extension of simple linear regression involving the use of multiple independent variables that combine to predict a single criteria variable. Based on the result in table, it represents the independent variables explained 54.6% of the variance in sustainable waste behavioral intention, which is significant. The F value is 20.166. In addition, the model is statistically significant as the P value below than 0.05. In this research study, there are 5 factors that were identified as independent variables. Between all these independent variables, there are only 2 factors that were found to be significant, which are attitude and environmental awareness. Environmental awareness is the highest standardized beta with 0.453. Therefore, it could be assumed that environmental awareness was the most significant factor that affects sustainable waste behavioral intention among academics in UiTM Kedah, since the standard beta value is greater than other independent variables. So for the first recommendation is the government and authorities need to come up with a proper policy, program, rules and regulation. It can be done by a long-term planning with a proper coordination, also strict rules and regulations so that the government can control the people behavior. Next recommendation, online engagement. Local authority, waste management organization, public agency or third sector companies should be more creative in online engagement. For instance, what have been done by e-Idaman Sundan Berhad, they have created Idaman Exchange application, making it smooth process for users to plan and send their recycled stuff. For the third recommendation, advertising. Advertising is important because it supports public education and addresses various social issues such as sustainable waste information. In completing this study, there are several limitations were analyzed. The first limitation is respondent of this study only involved among academics who is teaching in UiTM Kedah. Therefore, in future research, it needs to cover more respondents inclusively from all types of group as the findings of the study might differ. Next, the limited number of factors. The factors of this study gained from the previous study conducted by Hedari et al. 2008 and Munyandi et al. 2021 respectively. There was a chance that the other factor may have also had an effect on the academics at UiTM Kedah's level of sustainable waste behavioural intention. Other limitation identified in this study was sample size. A sample that is bigger than necessary will be more accurate since it will be more representative of the population according to UNDRAD 2020. The distributed hard copy and online questionnaire that been answered is only 90 respondents over more than 300 academic staff in UiTM Kedah. So the study represents only about 30% of the academics. Lastly, methodology is also one of the limitations in the study. The quantitative method results in limited insight. Thus, researchers are unable to construct diverse and thoughtful perspective views from various respondents using this medium. To sum up, the study was conducted to predict the sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah. Among the factors that affect the sustainable waste behavioural intention is measured in the study were attitude, subjective norm, perceived behavioural control, situational factors, and environmental awareness. All in all, the findings in the study show that the most significant factors that affect the sustainable waste behavioural intention among academics in UiTM Kedah was environmental awareness.